Hello, everybody, and welcome again to our another webinar here from Clear Insight, and this one specifically managed, collaborative, and automated FP&A. And so we're glad to have each one who has joined us here today from a variety of places around Canada and the U.S., and we're glad to have each of you on board here. So we will be walking through a number of things in our webinar today. We'll probably be in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 minutes, hopefully, and get you out a little early. So we're looking forward to you getting a lot of great insight here around this solution, and really there's some insight to be gathered here from this. So first of all, we're just going to talk a little bit, briefly introduce ourselves. There's some on the call who would know us well, work with us on an ongoing basis. Others might be new to us, so a little introduction about ourselves. Then an introduction about the company board and the board solution. The solution we're going to be showing you is based upon board, so we're going to show you a little bit about that and what their solution is, and then walk through that, and then ultimately get to the demo, which is really where the meat of the presentation will be. And we're looking forward to questions and any thoughts as you go through this. We will have a couple of survey questions for folks on the call, and so we'll be looking to have you answer those couple of survey questions. I know there's some people who are looking for CPE credits in this webinar, and so we're able to offer the credits, and part of that requirement is that you answer the questions, all the questions, and stay on till the end of the webinar. So we do that in part so that you can get CPE credits, and by all means let us know if you're looking for that qualification. Send me a note after we're done and we'll get that off to you. So that's our agenda today. So a little bit just about us here at Clear Insight. We are business partners of a number of key solutions, top ranking solutions in the industry, of which board is one of them. And we use these different vendor solutions across four key vectors, as you will see here. First, of course, and the core element of this webinar, planning, budgeting, and forecasting, working with the Office of Finance across many industries and companies of many different sizes. Then, of course, close to that is helping companies automate their financial close, getting closed faster. External and internal regulatory reporting that may be required, and board reporting, some key capabilities and ways we can give you better outcomes there. Management and performance reporting, the whole space around business analytics and business intelligence is key to what we do for our customers. And then, of course, much more prominent now and growing is the whole area around profitability modeling analysis, and this gets into augmented intelligence, artificial intelligence, predictability, and those kind of things that can come into play here as well. And so we recognize that the Office of Finance does have limited capacity, as well as IT and other areas of the business. And so our goal in working with our customers is leveraging the capacity you have to help you be much more efficient, have better control, confidence, and improved capabilities around these areas so that ultimately you get better outcomes. That's what it's all about. It's about better decisions and better outcomes. And so that's what we're about. Board International. Some of you may not have heard of Board. Board has been in Europe for, well, 22 years. You see that at the bottom, 22nd profitable year in a row. Been in the U.S. And North America for about 12 years with 3,500 plus customers around the world and over 150 partners, of which ourselves, of course, Clear Insight, a key partner for Canada and the U.S. For Board, and very excited about being able to offer Board to our customers where this solution makes sense for your needs. So Board is located around the world. Extensive company with many customers. I'll show you a slide in a bit of who those customers are. And of course, we're coming to you from Toronto in Canada, but operate in the US, around North America, and in the Caribbean as well. So Susan is on board with me here from Clear Insight, and our first question for you that she will turn on that I'm interested to find out is, what is your primary tool currently in use for budgeting and planning? And so Susan's just turned on the question for you there, and this is a pick one. So if you just take a minute, and is it Microsoft Excel? Are you just doing it with your ERP or accounting software? Or do you have some other kind of CPM solution, perhaps not unlike what we're showing here today? So if you could just take a minute and fill that out, answer the question and hit submit. We'll give folks just a minute to do that, and then we'll look at the results. All right, just another second or two to let the last few come in. Okay, Susan, maybe you can just show that. And the results, as you see here, we've got some of you are on, which is interesting, on the ERP accounting software, and the majority on other CPM solutions. So that's very interesting. Oftentimes, we've got a lot of people on Excel, but perhaps larger companies here with us today, and so using ERP or other solutions. Often when we're working with customers, we would say if you're using ERP or accounting software, it's fantastic for your tactical day-to-day managing your business, but from a strategic perspective and trying to do FP&A budgeting and planning and forecasting and reporting, it's a bit of a square peg in a round hole to try and use those components for that. And so we'll be interested in how you see this as we move along. Okay, if you could turn it back to the slides, Susan. Are we seeing the slides? I think it's still showing the poll.
Sorry, Ian, it seems to be very delayed. I've turned it off, but it's not seeming to turn it back on and turn it off again. There.
Okay, there we are. Okay, good. So then just to speak for a second about board solution, it's unique. When you normally think of corporate performance management solution, you're normally thinking about sometimes it's a canned solution, which can be quite restrictive, and other solutions that are very focused on finance, of which we support some of these other solutions. The unique thing about board is it is an integrated solution that we'll see is ranked very high for corporate performance management, doing things like at the top right of the circle here, budgeting, planning, and forecasting, financial consolidation, profitability, and modeling. But it takes you much further than that, which is part of the whole managed and collaborative process for FP&A. You obviously need to report on what you're doing. You set strategies, and the ability to be able to set strategies at the start of your annual plan and have those strategies flow into the plan. Dashboarding, being able to leverage predictive analytics now in the annual planning, and then of course self-service analysis and reporting all fall into play in what board is able to do in a single solution for you. So I'm curious, of those different elements, what of these CPM trends might currently be under discussion at your company? Many of you are using CPM products already. So if you could just turn that poll on, Susan, and then within there, are you talking about cloud? Maybe you're on-prem and you need to go to cloud. Are you using a solution, but you're not leveraging effective integrated modeling and driver-based planning and want to go there? Or are you really talking more about the analytics and the self-service and the BI and the predictive that is really now needed to be integrated into your planning process? So if you could answer that, take a second, and hopefully our solution here, our GoToMeeting, will let us show that and move forward. Okay, if you want to close it up, Susan. And there we can see, excellent, there's kind of across the board there. Some of you, half of you wanting to get to cloud, modeling and driver-based planning, and then quite a number of you into the analytics and BI and predictive. So I'm going to show you some of that today as well, and hopefully you'll find that helpful as we move along. So thank you for your answers there to that question. All right, let's close it up and see if we can get ourselves back to the presentation. There we are. Okay, good. So just briefly, because you may not have heard of Board, and you know what, it's been around quite a while, as we mentioned, but it's actually unique to other solutions, shows up in 3 major quadrants. Most will only show up in the analytics or the BI side or in the CPM side, and Board is a strong player in all of these quadrants, both in business intelligence, ranked #1 vendor amongst end users, and as well in the customer reviews for the corporate performance management and business performance management by users. And here G2 Crowd, if you've heard of that, ranked very high by quite a few number of users. I won't take time here, it's just to kind of flash this for you to say, hey, it is around, it's ranked high, and users are loving it. This was an interesting one by Infotech, and this is on the BI side. On the right here, you'll see talking about things like storytelling, self-service, geospatial analysis, alerts and notifications, cloud, of course, and Board exceeded them on the use case performance for a lot of these other typical products of solutions you might have heard of. And so something key here. This, I didn't pick up I should have picked up the latest one. This is actually a 2016 survey on CPM, and you'll see Board ranked above some of the other key players here, Oracle and Anaplan and SAP, etc., across things like functionality, reporting and analysis, flexibility, and self-service. So again, I'm not going to spend time there. I think that's all I had for that, just to give you a little idea and a bit of confidence of where we're coming from. The other thing that, of course, if I'm going to be looking at leveraging a solution, is going to be who are the users of it. 35 customers around the world, a lot of big name companies that you see here across many industries. Of course, there's a lot of smaller companies using the product as well. And these customers are going to be using them. The majority are using it for corporate performance management. Many of them maybe just for BI, and some for all 3, CPM, BI, as well as the predictive side of things. So a lot of customers in use here, and a lot of great references. If you're curious in your industry of a specific set of customers and references in your industry, I've got a lot of customer scenarios and use cases that I can share with you and references, and I'm happy to do that. Here's just a couple quickly to give you an idea. For example, Acer here, what impressed us most is the utter simplicity of the tool for its visual modeling environment, especially compared to the wide and sophisticated functional offering. What's another one here? EAS SF, we need a tool capable of being flexible, allowing the collection, processing, and distribution of complex information. A tool able to deliver ongoing forecasts as a fundamental element in the operational management of the company. So just a couple of examples again there of customers who have been using Board. Okay, so here we are. We're talking about managed and collaborative FP&A. And this perhaps might be a little bit of your environment. Now, many of you are using CPM systems and as Clear Insight, and we work with customers, small and large. I must say I am amazed when I work with customers and they've got big systems. They might have Oracle, you might have IBM, you might have other systems in play, and you're just not, either the system isn't capable of it or you're not tapping into it, and regardless of the potential power of the system you have, you're still dumping everything to Excel, and you're still sending around templates that need to be filled in that, of course, disconnect everything and limit the collaboration. And your environment might look like this, where you're pulling from different source data sets, dumping things into Excel, and moving things around. You lose confidence, you potentially lose quality and control when these things happen. The way Board works is it takes all of that together, consolidates it, accesses your data sources wherever they may be, internal or on the cloud, and through the Board capability and accessing those data sources delivers you the BI solutions like scorecarding and dashboarding, but what we're talking about here, the performance management solutions like budgeting, planning, forecasting in there, because for this, of course, you need the write back capability and to store that information and to automatically roll up that information, which then can be leveraged in business intelligence. And of course, if that's all in a main data store, then we can leverage the big data elements for simulation and clustering elements within that. So that's the idea with Board. And this is an important little slide, especially in the context of this webinar around managed and collaboration. If we're just doing planning, we're just doing the tactical and the what if, but you need to take that through into operations, and whatever that planning is to make the changes, drive those changes into the different areas of your business, into operations, that then comes back to control and monitoring, and ultimately the strategy end of things is key there. And I started at planning, but typically you would start, of course, at the strategy side and drive that down through the environment so that you are moving from strategy through tactics, operations, and back up again in a continuous cycle. And if you're just using a limited solution to do that, you can't carry on these linked elements of your business to do that. So with Board, of course, you're getting self-service, KPIs and dashboards, predictive analytics, the planning, full office integration. You're going to see workflow today. That's a key element. The alert and broadcasting, etc. I won't be able to obviously show you all of those, but by all means, pop in with the questions if there's something that you want to see here. Again, Excel, I won't spend time there. You guys seem to have recognized that Excel, is fantastic as it is, and we still need to use it. It has its issues in managed and collaborative FP&A. Traditional BI systems, they're not just going to cut it at all for FP&A. Analytical tools are great for predictive and these kind of things, but that's not going to cut it. Data discovery tools, you know, the hottest, latest, greatest, fanciest, shiniest tools now today that come out for data discovery, but they just can't drive enterprise-wide efforts. And then, of course, smaller FP&A suites and solutions support the finance processes, but they can be very poor on analytics. If you get ones that are, you know, canned reports, we answer a lot of RFPs, and the questions are, well, what canned reports do you have out of the box, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're an organization of any size, again, you're just getting yourself into a rigid environment that some of those things will drive. And so, as you might have guessed, again, with Board, the way that it has been designed and the way that we use it with our customers is we're able to support all of these functions, deliver an easy and self-service environment, fast to implement, and enterprise ready. And so you're going to, again, we're getting to the end here. Hang in there, and we're going to get to the demo. So you want effective decision making. With Board, it comes first of all because it's an all-in-one solution. You don't have to jump to another solution. Try and port your data to another solution to do analytics. It's all in one. You need your users. Users now are demanding self-service, and so they should, but in a managed environment. You don't want self-service where everybody's got a different version of the truth. You still have to come together off of a single source of data. With Board, you've got the toolkit, and the toolkit is the kind of the magic sauce under the covers that lets us and lets you create these solutions quickly. And then there's the whole back-end performance and cube capability that gives you time to solution and ultimately what we're all looking for, total cost of ownership and ROI out of the gate. And so that's a little bit about how that comes together. You can get it cloud or on-premise, the solution I'm going to show you, available in both to meet your needs and easily able to transition from one to the other if that's the case. Just a few little screenshots to show you it's not one size fits all. There's all kinds of what you can imagine is what you can create and deliver from different kinds of BI right through to integrated planning together. So many different applications that are can be built on the sales side, on the SCM side of things, HR. There's substantial HR that's important in financial planning. I'm not going to get deep into the HR, but I'm happy to show you anybody who's interested in that after the fact. We're dealing with the finance side here. We're talking about financial, and we're going to show this top down and bottoms up. Budgeting, integrating cash flow, all that has to come out of your financial statements, ABC reporting, you name it, it's all can be built here with the Board solution. So one of the questions is, how is this really possible? This is not an IT demo, but just to kind of give you a bit of architecture, the way that this is actually possible is, let's start here with the application side. Applications are built, no programming required. These applications leverage the internal logic that's within Board for doing these kind of functions here in the middle, like workflow and alerting and broadcasting, etc. But these are done efficiently because we've taken your source data on the left and we put that into model it the way you look at it in your environment with a full drill down every direction. You're going to be excited to see that. And we put it into cubes, but we can also leverage your relational data as well. And so these capsules represent your applications. And so what I'm going to be demoing for you today are a couple of capsules. And those capsules and those reports, once built, can be used in web clients, can be used in the Office clients, can be used on the mobile, can be driven content straight into your portal, build once, used in multiple ways. And of course, there's security driven through this whole thing to control who has access to what. And so that's the toolkit approach. We're not going to get into that today and showing you how to build, but again, something that we would be happy to show you in an offline maybe with just folks in your own company. And so the build once, deploy everywhere is kind of what we just mentioned about there. And now our last survey question just before we go to the demo. Make sure you're all still with us here. And so it's all about collaborative reporting. So I'm wondering, to what degree is your current planning collaborative? And so just pick one in that, and Susan's turned it on for us. So is your planning done only by the CFO and the finance team? Is it the collaboration across the C-level, C-suite with the executive team? Or does it go down? Do you have department managers? Sorry, it's really, I'm thinking leaders, you know, the different divisions, and that's all that involved? Or is it an extensive collaboration where you have individual managers who are on the ground, who know the business best, they're putting in their budgets, and you're rolling it right up to the top? So take a minute and just answer your thoughts there. Pick what best applies to you. Okay, if you want to close it up, there we are, Susan. Okay, thanks. Excellent. Well, we've got a great crew on the webinar today. You guys are well along. That's fantastic. So I'd love to hear any thoughts and questions you have coming out of this, because you are seeking to do extensive collaboration across the business when you do your planning. Then there's a lesser percentage of you, of course, there who are doing it with the just the leadership team. So love to know how that is going with you. And so if you have thoughts or questions, we'll grab that at the time. Okay, let's switch ourselves over to our demo. And just to show you here, I'm in the browser mode here. I'm in my browser, and I'm looking at the same application and can demo it here. I'm going to flip over to my my thick client, and I'm in the thick client here now. I'm actually going to demo it from the thick client, just because. But we could be doing it in the cloud in the browser version as well. So hopefully you all can see this now. And so you saw pictures of different images of different applications. So what I'm going to show you is a simple collaborative model of top-down, bottoms-up budgeting that provides integration and delivers an ultimate annual plan at the end. There's a number of other components that I won't be showing today that can start with the strategic plan. There's some other capsules that allow you to build your strategy in that sets up the budget for certain strategy items. But we're not going to touch on that today. So this, as you see, starts with a workflow, and we're looking at the different contributors, how many initial budgets have been sent out, how many are in progress, who's submitted back, how many have rejected, how many have been approved, and that's of not started. So in this example, we've got 14 different managers, we'll call it, that go in there. So I can just click in here and we'll go to the detailed workflow. And here in the detailed workflow, you're going to see our 14 managers. These are actually, in this example, these are store managers, different locations under a regional manager. So we've got 3 regional managers and 4 store managers. You could, of course, in literally a day, we could change this application around to be by different apartments. And, you know, if you're not a retail, which you're probably not a retail type thing, this can be changed to fit into whatever environment that you have. So this kind of shows it, and it's a dashboard. Nothing has been started here yet, so there's nothing much to see there in the workflow. So we need to prime the budget first. We want to start the budget. So we're going to start and we're going to initiate the budget. So I'm going to click on Initiate Budget, and that's going to bring us up into the environment where it's going to pull all the budget elements from each of them. And we see here we've got the different locations that we're working on, and we're going to work on location 1 here first of all. And so for location 1, the different accounts that they're going to budget for the HR side, the selling side, and then the OPEX expenses that come in here. We're feeding them the latest budget. Right now, we're going to pretend we're doing our 2017 budget. So as we're working in 2016, there is a 2016 current year budget, and there is a latest forecast, the previous year budget, and the metrics that you need to understand that. So the idea of the way this works is I'm going to set a target. So this is top down. So I'm going to set a target, and then I'm going to send my target to my regional managers and my store managers, and then I'm going to look for them to enter their budget numbers. We want to make it as simple as possible. So we're looking to achieve this target as the executive team. And so let's give them that target and then let them take the effort to edit it and change it with hopefully coming in at the target. But if that's not reality, then we're going to look to have them send reality back to us in that. But we're going to have some metrics here. You see here on the right, OPEX adjustment. We're going to give them flexibility to change things, but the system is going to produce an error, and it's going to say if they have salary increases or wages that vary more than 5% from the target we give them, then they're going to have to tweak it until it comes into that range, selling expenses, etc. So if I wanted to change selling expenses and I wanted to change that to 5%, I can do that, and you see that's in red. And then what I'm going to do is that can then be saved into the system, and then their targets are going to be 5% for that. So what I want to do is I don't want to set it to the budget. I want to set it to the current forecast for the year. I want to look at next year starting with the current year forecast because that's going to be the most accurate. So I'm going to click on Set Target to Forecast, and then what it's going to do, you see the target line here. It's now filled in the target line for location 1 for 2017 to the latest forecast across the business. I can add in comments. I could make adjustments here by month, and I could change the different elements of the target by month. You'll notice that some cells are in yellow and some are gray. The ones that are in yellow are where you can edit it, where you can enter in information. The cells that are in gray are protected. And then there's the data validation elements that we talked about right there. And that's where I would save that back for the selling expenses and what I want to change that to there. So I've set my target. Now I need to send my target. So I'm going to click Send Target. You see down here, Workflow Location 1, not started, and I'm going to send the target. And so that has sent the target on to my Location 1 manager. Status has been set to send. So my Location 1 manager is going to get an alert and a notification, and then they can come in now and they can do their budget entry. So I come in and I'm going to click on my budget entry, and what I'm going to be looking at here is Location 1 at the top. You can see right now my budget that I'm putting in now as the manager responsible for Location 1. My budget right now is 0. My target is 346,000. You see right at the bottom here, 345,616, and this is my target. So the senior team has given me this target, and again, for simplicity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say accept the target, and what it's going to do is it's going to take the target that they've given me and it's going to flow it into my budget. At this point now, I can make the adjustments that I want to do. So I can go into different phasing elements. I can manually adjust the budget, and I'm going to go in here and do a manual adjustment. And let's say that I know that I want to do a new hire here from June on. And so what I want to do is I want to up this from 20K to 15K. To 25K for the remainder of the year. So I can just do that, cross arrow, 25K, put in my 25K and set that at that. And so now I want to save that and make sure, see if that's in red. When I commit that, now that's going to put that into gray, and now that's my committed number. But the system has come back, remember? I had a 5% increase on salaries, and it's not going to let me do that. I must connect before I can submit. I'm no longer able to submit that number because my salary is high. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, well, first of all, what I want to do is I want to lock that because I know that's what that's going to be. And so I'm going to hit that on lock. And now from here, what the system didn't realize is that I'm short an employee already. So really at this point, this is really only 15K there. And so because I've locked that and I did that arrow, it's just saving that. So I'm going to do a save here. System is going to do the validation check. The validation check is gone. And now my budget is 359. The target is 346. I'm actually 4% above target, but that's what I want, and I'm going to submit that budget now. So that budget has now been submitted, and I've done my job. Of course, we could do all kinds of different things further within that. So now when I go back to my, my home screen, and we can see here on the workflow, actually, if I'd come in here earlier, we would have seen that it would have gone from sent to in progress, and now it's submitted is where we're at. So it's been submitted. It's now up to manager review. So I'm now at manager review. And of course, in your real environment, this is happening across the board for all of your folks at once. The manager can now come in here, and I only did location 1, and I can click on that here, and I can see location 1, and that's going to give me the detail for location 1, my salary budget, my selling expenses, etc. There's my 359, my variance, and then as a manager, I can decide whether I want to approve that or I can reject it. So I'm going to approve that. And so that has now been approved, and we can see here just pictorially what's happening with our budget versus our forecast. So maybe as I pull in and approve the other ones for the rest of this region under this regional manager, that maybe I'm going to be looking to redeem back, you know, that $5,000 that I went, or $14,000 that I went over budget here to get that back. And so then as I come back here, and if I refresh this screen, I should see, yep, 1 approved, 1 done, 13 not started, and we've got that done. I can come into my scenario modeling, and this is where further work can be done. And once these different ones are approved, I can look at these approved ones. I could have my different managers give me, for example, a best case, worst case, expected case scenario, and I could be looking at those different scenarios, and they would roll up in here. And then ultimately, I can save a scenario and approve a scenario to a certain location so that we have multiple scenarios and the ability to work. So here's my 3 managers, Susan, George, and Frank, who have these different areas here that come together so that I'm going back and forth. I didn't get into the commentary. There's a lot of places that I could have put commentary. I can add full Word documents of perhaps my business case for that part of the business that I'm going to be doing, and narratives, and it can go back and forth. This is just, you know, scratching the surface, but the idea is to show you kind of a workflow scenario and how easily it can be done. Next year, I can hit clear scenario. I can go back into my workflow section over here, and I could clear the whole workflow and start all over again with folks. And so it's a completely repeatable process for all of them. So hopefully you've kind of seen a little bit about that. Now I'm just going to take a minute just before we finish, and I'm going to open a different capsule. So that was one capsule that we looked at for CPM. This is another capsule, and this is a demo capsule. We've got another way of managing a budget and forecast, and that's in here. We've got some of the predictive analytics and clustering over here, and we've got the business intelligence over here. So imagine I've done all of that. I've got my annual budget, and now I'm looking on a daily basis. I'm accessing my data, and I can see my dashboard. I can see my different, if it was my different companies or my different stores showing up here. I've got my different divisions of my business, a very quick dashboard of what's happening. If I only wanted to look at these 3 companies, I can just do that and refresh that. Let's say I only wanted to look at those 4 salespeople, I can do that. If I just wanted to look at the first half of the year, I can do that. And so very quickly, I'm narrowing down and I'm filtering all of my information. I actually can hover over anything, and it's going to give me all the key KPIs that are in there. Within here, I can select what I've got, my pointer, my rubber band, and drill in. I can actually drill into a different individual dot here, but I'm going to go to somewhere else and show you. So there's kind of my dashboard. I'm going to go into my regional analysis now. And in my regional analysis, we've got my different salespeople showing up here and how the performance is across the business. Down below, I'm looking at my different companies and my different cities that I'm looking at. Just to show you a little bit of the self-service, I can click Layout here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know what, I don't want to look at this way. I want to look at it by something else. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, I want to look at this by division, not by companies. And all I do is drag that in. I can have division underneath company and zone. I don't want to do that. I just want division. And I'm going to say refresh. And now I'm looking at that whole chart by each division. I can drill down now in any dimension. So from within this here, I just right click and I can drill from division. I could drill into any time entity, any customer, any product. So let's say I want to go from division to product group, and I'm going to drill the product group. So I'm within cream, and now I'm product group within cream. And then maybe within here, I want to go to product class. Now I'm looking at product class, and maybe then I even want to go all the way to what products make up that product class and how the performance is. Well, there's only one product. But maybe at this point, I want to go a different direction. I want to look at what channel is that product sold in. And I can continue to keep drilling. That's in the independent channel. And now I want to know, okay, well, what salesman is that who has that independent channel? Well, it's McNeil. And there's where his performance is. And now I want to say, well, I want to see how it is by quarter. And then I can look at it by quarter showing up there. So very effective, simple, edit, change my reports, drill down in any way I want to go, and edit and change my report any way I want to change that. And then, of course, I can look at it in any kind of other way to do my analysis. Because this is all in the same underlying data set, I'm using my annual plan, my forecasting data, I'm bringing in my actuals, and I'm reporting on all of that on a regular basis, and then can do rolling forecasts. We can now look at this and say, hey, you know what, we're out of line here midway through the year. I want a new forecast of where this is going to come in, and in a collaborative way, it's all together in one environment. So there we are, a quick spin of collaborative reporting across a business with multiple departments and multiple divisions and people, and how that can be integrated together. We're 45 minutes. That's about where I said we were going to be. Now, I'm not sure if there are any questions that might have come up. We'll give you a second. Feel free to type a question into the question or the chat section, and we'll try and find that. Would love to hear as well from anybody, either now or offline, what your thought is of this, and if you're able to do this with your own environment, or if you'd like to see anything further. So let's just see here if there is any questions. Okay, there's one question. It's about that kind of application. You know, what's involved and how much effort to do that. Typically, an application like you saw there can be put together, again, with no programming in, you know, 30 to 60 days, depending on the complexity and what's required and who's involved and the connection to the data. Oftentimes, the longest time is in your connection to the data, but it's something that can be done very quickly. And the way that we implement with our customers is we do the training first. We teach you the solution so that you don't end up with, you don't know what you don't know, and we're able to put together something that meets and exceeds your needs and expectations with the delivery coming out of the gate. So thank you very much for your attendance today. Thanks for everybody that has joined us. And I don't see any other questions, no other questions at this point. So we will leave you with that. And thank you for your time today and joining us for this webinar. On behalf of the rest of us here at Clear Insight, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.